what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellowshow. My name's Kyle. It is Thursday evening, December 9th, 6:30 p.m. Central Time here. We have a football game going on in about 45 minutes. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm excited to watch that. We'll see what happens tonight. Both teams need a win to stay in their respective playoff races. And we have a ton of player news to get into. So come on in, type up your questions in the chat room. I did put a bunch of the injury notes in there too, so feel free to scroll through that. I'm going to read off some of the main headlines that I found today. Starting with Dalvin Cook officially active tonight. And the note that I found was that he's played through this before. ESPN's Adam Shepard reports that Dalvin Cook will wear a shoulder harness tonight and is expected to maintain his regular workload. He had a playoff game against New Orleans last year, and he looked pretty good. I think he had over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown in that game. So Dalvin Cook expected to get the bulk of the carries. I'm not playing Alexander Mattison in any league that I have him. I don't want to risk getting, a 2-point, 3-point game. It's just too crucial of a week for me to whip out Alexander Mattison. So I would avoid playing him. Get Dalvin Cook in your lineups if you have him. Deebo Samuel officially listed as did not practice today. That's making me a little bit nervous with Deebo Samuel. They're saying all the right things, and Kyle Shanahan's kind of he's kind of greasy. He will lie to the media right in front of us, and I don't think Deebo Samuel plays. Tomorrow's a big day for him. If he gets a limited in, I'll feel better. But for now, I would say 2 out of 3 days here, he did not practice. I would plan to just have a backup plan just in case here. We did see Joe Hayden's inactive for tonight. Seahawks running back news. There's a handful of guys here. Travis Homer downgraded from limited to did not practice. He's probably not going to play this weekend. Or Alex Collins says he's feeling considerably better heading into week 14 against Houston. And then there was a report that Adrian Peterson's probably not going to play. They didn't really get into his injury here. I'm looking for the note that I typed up. Where is the Adrian Peterson blurb? 1 second. I cannot find it. Why can I not find it? But anyways, it doesn't sound like Adrian Peterson's going to play. He hasn't been practicing with the team. He's on the practice squad. I don't think they're going to call him up. So it looks like Alex Collins might be a pretty good running back to start. And there's reason for optimism, I think, in the Seattle Seahawks offense this week against Houston. So I'm leaning towards getting my Seattle guys in the lineups. Yeah, there's the Adrian Peterson note. And then with more news on San Francisco, I did not see Elijah Mitchell practicing today. It looks like Jeff Wilson, who got a limited in yesterday and today, it looks like he's going to be the main front runner for carries. There's also the kind of third down running back, JaMychal Hasty. He's probably going to get some run as the kind of the secondary back there, but Jeff Wilson should be picked up and rostered. And if he does get the start, I like Jeff Wilson against Cincinnati. Austin Eckler limited today. Randall Cobb likely shut down for the season, so that just makes me like Marquez Valdez-Scantling even more. I think Allen Lazard's a guy that you could probably roster in deeper leagues, but MVS, this is a huge snap count thing for MVS. I think he's going to be a helpful wide receiver 3 the rest of the way. T. Higgins returning to practice today. That's all good news there. Joe Mixon did not practice today, though. He's been holding out with an illness. He also had a neck thing last Sunday. I'm not sure if that's part of it, too, but no Joe Mixon yet this week. Zach Ertz limited. James Robinson, they're calling this just a day of rest. So we'll see tomorrow. If this is a load management thing, maybe he gets a limited in tomorrow. I would plan for J-Rob to be in there. But even if he plays, I'm starting to get nervous, so I'll take J-Rob questions if you have them. We got Allen Robinson, and this one expecting to play. He's been limited so far this week, so it looks like he's going to be back. That takes a little bit of the steam off of Darnell Mooney, but I still like Mooney a little bit there. No Tevin Coleman today. He's probably not going to play this weekend with the concussion symptoms here. That's going to make me like Ty Johnson as a potential RB2 flex play, but that's kind of dirty. If you need it, let me know. Again, there's the Dalvin Cook news. Kadarius Toney, there was some kind of conflicting reports here that he was limited today and that he was able to practice. But then we had a beat reporter, Zach Rosenblatt, here say a poor bet to return from Sunday's game against the Chargers. Apparently, he looked like he re-injured something in practice today. Not sure if that's true or not, but I would plan for no Kadarius Toney this week. We also have David Montgomery back from practice. So the Bears getting David Montgomery back on practice, Allen Robinson on track to play. It looks like the Bears offense could be at full strength with Justin Fields at the helm. Taysom Hill, good to go. He's going to play this weekend, practice in full. Elijah Moore, though, not practicing yesterday or today. I would plan to be without Elijah Moore this weekend. I think they're also, Corey Davis is already shut down for the season, and they just put Keelan Cole on the COVID list. So it looks like Jamison Crowder might be an interesting play. You can check your waiver wires and see if Crowder's hanging around. We did see that Logan Thomas avoided serious ACL injuries here, so it looks like Ricky Seals-Jones might be the next man up here. He's limited at practice. I think he's on track to play, so if you need a tight end, Ricky Seals-Jones is worth a roster spot. You have J.D. McKissick practicing with a concussion. He's probably going to play this weekend. That doesn't take too much steam off Antonio Gibson. I still like Gibson as a top 10 running back this week just based on volume. We're getting AK-41 back this week, so that's awesome news. Sterling Shepard has a chance to play. Kenny Golladay has a chance to play. Both guys limited here. Again, I don't think Kadarius Toney's going to play. Darrell Henderson, not sure what to do with Darrell Henderson. They do play on Monday night. I would be nervous if you're banking on Darrell Henderson to be a running back too. I might suggest looking for guys like Jeff Wilson or Alex Collins because it looks like they want to use Sony Michel a little bit more going forward. You have Cooper Kupp being limited with a toe issue. Apparently, we're not concerned, so I think you can go forward and just expect Cooper Kupp to play. The Tennessee backfield is going to get murky with Jeremy McNichols coming into the fold. You have Dontrell Hilliard and Deonta Foreman. Not really sure which one I want to get out there, but the guy that I think is going to lead the team in carries is probably Deonta Foreman, and we'll see. McNichols and Hilliard are kind of the same running back where they're both going to be on the field for passing downs, but I do think Hilliard's probably the better play between the two. No Darren Waller yet. Still sidelined here. I'm leaning towards him not going this weekend, so Foster Moreau likely gets the start. It looks like Julio Jones is on track to play. So if Julio Jones is still hanging around your waiver wire, he should be picked up. And I think I'm going to try to lean and get him in there. It's a good matchup against Jacksonville. Julio's healthy. I think I'm going to give it a try. Mike Williams has a chance to play, and so does Keenan Allen. So we'll see what happens. We have to monitor this. I don't think we're going to get any more info until Friday or Saturday on both these players. And then this was kind of the main news today that I found. Tony Pollard with a plantar fascia issue in his left foot. It's torn, but apparently that's a good thing. I think he's going to sit out this weekend, so it's a big Zeke week. Harrison Bryant not going to play. So Austin Hooper, probably one of my favorite streaming tight ends. And then the last news that I got here for you guys is Melvin Gordon, probably going to play this Sunday, but I still like Javonte Williams. So thanks for taking that in. Now we'll get to some of the questions here. What's going on, Christian? Do you think Melvin Gordon goes back to regular workload, and does this affect Javonte's start? So that's perfect because we just talked about Melvin Gordon here. I don't think Melvin Gordon goes back to his regular workload. The cat's out of the bag with Javonte Williams. I think Denver, first of all, Denver's on the cusp of the playoffs here. They need to win this game against Detroit. And not only is it a really good matchup for Denver to run the ball on Detroit, but Javonte just looks so good. Melvin coming back, I think they're going to kind of take it easy. I would expect Melvin to get some work, but Javonte against the Lions, with even like 60% of the workload, I still think he's got a really good chance at a touchdown. So I still like Javonte a lot more than I like Melvin. So what's going on, Justin? Thanks for hanging out tonight. What's going on, Daniel? Yeah, the Madison news, dude, just take the rug underneath our feet on Madison. So it's unfortunate, but who knows? Maybe this is not a big running game for Dalvin Cook even either. So maybe this is a good news. I do like DJ Moore against Atlanta. I think he's got a safe floor. I do expect Cam Newton to kind of bounce back and get that sour taste out of his mouth. And Atlanta and Carolina, that game is interesting because one of those teams is going to be able to go on and continue to compete for a playoff berth. So I think Cam Newton, DJ Moore, that connection should be good this weekend. And Atlanta allows, I think, the second most wide receiver points here. So you might actually be backing into a better play here with DJ Moore. So hoping to ease your optimism there for you. Status on Hendo, he's limited today. Like from what I've heard, though, and just the coach speak of Sean McVay, is they want Sony Michel, I think, more involved. That doesn't mean that Henderson's going to go away completely when he's healthy. But I think they like Sony Michel. Sony Michel's very productive. He's a sound pass protector, good pass receiver. You might be looking at maybe more of a 50-50 type split this weekend. So, again, too, with them playing on Monday, I would probably be uncomfortable starting Henderson as my running back too, especially if you have a guy like Jeff Wilson or even Alex Collins. I think some of these fringe running back twos might be more appealing to me than Darrell Henderson. Any report on Daniel Jones or Mike Glennon? So the Daniel Jones report, they're so conflicting, because you have Joe Judge saying like good things about Daniel Jones being cleared for this weekend. So here's the report. Joe Judge said that the team is waiting for Daniel Jones to be cleared for contact and that he's optimistic it will happen this year. So I'm going to say no Daniel Jones this week. But then the report on Mike Glennon was actually, it took a turn for the better today for Mike Glennon. It sounds like he might actually have a chance to start. So it says he's moving in the right direction to start Sunday's game against the Chargers. He's officially limited today. He's going to be available for everything, with the idea being he's going to be full tomorrow. So it looks like Glennon's on track. I think they're going to just allow Jake Fromm to be the emergency QB. So I think we're going to go forward with Glennon being the starting quarterback this week against the Chargers. I got some options: Gallup, J-Rob, Sony, Wilson, AJ Dillon, Julio. Those are good options to have, my man. I don't know if you're asking for a start-sit question, but that's a pretty good-looking bench if that's your bench. Status on Chase Edmonds. I don't think we're going to expect Chase Edmonds this week. That was kind of what I got from the blurb today that I read. Let me read it for you. So he was designated to return today. Cliff Kingsbury said Chase Edmonds won't return until week 14 against the Rams. But that was last week. Let me find the quote that I found, because it said something about getting Chase Edmonds and another player ready for week 15 against the Lions. So to me, I don't think Edmonds is going to play this weekend. Fire up James Conner, and I wouldn't bank on Edmonds playing this week. What's the workload for Cook and Madison? I think it's going to be back to normal. I think it's going to be back to Dalvin Cook getting 80+% of the touches here. Madison, maybe if Madison, the best case for Madison is if Cook aggravates something early, but I think the game plan for tonight is to get Cook his regular workload. So I don't think we can responsibly start Alexander Madison tonight. DJ Moore or Jeff Wilson? That's tough. I mean, on paper, like, the matchup for DJ Moore is really good. Atlanta gives up the 6th most PPR points to the wide receiver position. They've allowed 15 wide receiver touchdowns. Only 2 teams have allowed more. That's Minnesota and the Titans. So, like, they're in really good company. This is a good matchup for DJ Moore. Whereas Wilson, I like Wilson to get the volume. Cincinnati does allow the 8th most PPR points to running back. So it's kind of like, do you want to take the safe floor with Jeff Wilson, or do you really need the high points for that? I think DJ Moore might be the better play, but I get it if you want to go safe points and there's no Elijah Mitchell. I think Jeff Wilson, you take the volume with Jeff Wilson against the Bengals. Everett, a good play this weekend. He was not a good play last weekend, but against Houston, I'm open to it. Justin, if you have other options, let me see. Oh, there we go. Higbee, Moreau, Everett need 1. So fantasy points allowed to the tight end. Houston allows the 10th most. The Chiefs allow the 8th most. So it's actually a good spot for Foster Moreau. Higbee, I'm not interested in Higbee. It's hard for me to trust Higbee. So I'm looking more at Everett or more at Moreau. Everett probably has a safe floor against Houston, but I kind of like Foster Moreau. If no Darren Waller, I'm going to go with Moreau. I know he didn't play well last weekend, but either did Everett. So I think I'm going to go with Moreau. Josh Jacobs, Jimmy Williams, Sony Michel, or Chuba Hubbard half PPR. You probably got to go with Josh Jacobs. Best chance to score a touchdown, I think it's Josh Jacobs. If you wanted to hold out for Sony Michel, that's fine, but I still think there's murky waters with the Darrell Henderson and the workload there. Whereas Josh Jacobs, we know Kenyon Drake's not playing. I think I'm just going to go ahead with Josh Jacobs because I know that Kansas City, man, like, they're going to need their best effort from these players, and Josh Jacobs, that's probably the best one. I do like Jamal Williams, but it's a tough matchup against Denver. So I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs. He's been playing the best all year. So need one with those couple guys. I'm going to stick with Moreau on that call there. What's going on, Devin? Thanks for hanging out. I have both RBs from Minnesota and GB on my roster. I don't want to get burned by Dalvin like I did by Jones when he came back. Who do you start? I'm going with Dalvin Cook. I know it feels like we could potentially get burned, but I don't think they're going to risk putting Dalvin Cook out there if he's not ready for any kind of capacity. So he's active. He's wearing a harness. He should be good to go. He's been practicing all week, so I'm not too nervous about it. I think I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook. I think Jeff Wilson plays, yes, both limited practices Wednesday and Thursday. Expecting the beat writers are kind of already acknowledging that Wilson would get the bulk of the carries here, so it's looking like a good Jeff Wilson game and a good matchup against Cincinnati. Does J.D. McKissic play this week? Hopefully Antonio Gibson is able to retain full receiver workload. So McKissic's going to play this weekend, but I have good news for Antonio Gibson. So go back to the night that J.D. McKissic got hurt. The night that J.D. McKissic got hurt, Antonio Gibson had he finished the night with 7 receptions on 7 targets, and J.D. got hurt in the fourth quarter of that game. So Gibson already racked up 5 or 6 catches before McKissic got hurt. So I think there's a greater concern and effort to get Gibson the ball. And basically, for me, when I drafted Antonio Gibson, I wasn't too concerned about the receiving workload. I knew Gibson was going to be a pest in terms of that regard, but I care more about the red zone touches and the touchdowns. So I think Gibson's going to be just fine. Continue to expect top 10, top 12 running backs from Gibby. With the Gallup and the other options, let me see here. Where did I miss? Did I miss it? Am I missing your? I can't find your question there, Justin. Are you able to re-enter that? Oh, right here. I got some options. So you need one of these guys. One of these guys. Gallup, J-Rob, Sony, Wilson, A.J. Dillon, Julio. The one I trust the least is James Robinson against the Titans. I know it's a good matchup for him against the Titans, but I'm having difficulty trust the Jaguars right now. Gallup's got a really good matchup against Washington and no Tony Pollard. I think we might see Dallas really open up the playbook and start to throw the ball. It's a good matchup to throw the ball. So I kind of feel like Gallup is probably my favorite receiving option, but I'm going to be tough to bench Jeff Wilson. But I think I'm going to go with Gallup. Short answer is Gallup. Where did I leave off here? Jacobs or Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I'm going to go Clyde Edwards-Helaire. On paper, it's a better matchup. The Raiders give up the 4th most points to the running back position here. They've allowed so far 14 touchdowns, 9 rushing and 5 receiving to the running backs. I think Clyde's going to be busy, and it's just a better offense. I'd rather go with the team that's going to get more points, Clyde Edwards. I got some options: Gallup, J-Rob, Sony. Yep, I think I'm going to go with Gallup, man. It's a good matchup. The Tony Pollard news makes me a little bit nervous. I think they're going to be going more wide receiver heavy. And again, on paper, Washington football team gives up the most quarterback points. They've allowed 26 passing touchdowns, and for receivers, they've allowed 14 wide receiver touchdowns in 12 games. Just tons of yards, receptions. I think I'm going to lean into that matchup. Dallas needs to throw the ball to win the game. Would you flex A.J. Dillon over Renfrow, Van Jefferson, need one half PPR? I'm going to go with Renfrow in this one. Especially if no Darren Waller, Renfrow is going to be the leading target guy. Stick with Renfrow. He's been good to us. He's the hot hand. I like A.J. Dillon, but again, I think after the bye week, you're going to see a little bit more Aaron Jones. I can't promise A.J. Dillon's going to be a safe play, but I do like Dillon. So if you want to lock in, a safe 7-8 points, A.J. Dillon's the guy. But I think Renfrow, I'm going to lean into Hunter Renfrow this week. George Kittle or Clyde Edwards-Helaire half PPR. George could have been at flex. Half PPR. George Kittle or Clyde Edwards-Helaire half PPR. George would be at flex. Who's your tight end if you're flexing George Kittle, my man? I'm probably going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire because I feel safest about him. I know George Kittle just had a big game. How about this? I'm going to say George Kittle if no Debo. If no Debo, go with Kittle. If Debo plays, I'll go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But you should try. I don't know. You must have Travis Kelce if you have George Kittle at flex. That's pretty nasty, my man. But keep the questions coming. This is good. It's we got time yet, so keep them coming. I'm going to look for some more player news and updates here. Let me see what I can dig up for us. I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat room? Is it Steelers? Is it Vikings tonight? I personally like the Steelers. It feels good to me. Ben Roethlisberger's playing good. I know it's road Ben, but I kind of have a feeling the Steelers are going to take it tonight. What do you think about Saquon? He had 9 targets last week. I'm fine with Saquon. On paper, the Chargers are giving up the most rushing yards to the running back position. Like, or they're allowing the second most rushing yards in the league to running backs, and they've allowed 16 total touchdowns, with 15 of those on the ground. So if there's a chance for Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown, it's this week. They're gonna, again, with Mike Glennon, he's gonna be dinking and dunking, and just handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley. So actually, if Glennon starts, I like Saquon Barkley quite a bit to maybe reach maybe the most volume he's seen all season. So very good play for Saquon Barkley this week. He's going to be a top 5, top 10 running back, I feel like, and underrated this week, I think, Saquon Barkley. Do you still stand on starting Javonte over Saquon? If we see Mike Glennon starting, Mike Glennon's competent. Jake Fromm would have me going Javonte Williams, but I think if Glennon does indeed start, I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley just because I know he's going to get the ball 15 to 20 times. I can't guarantee that with Javonte, so I'll say Saquon. It's a good matchup on paper, and Mike Glennon can at least dump it off and rack up those PPR, half PPR points for you. Madison, Hendo, Foreman, Collins, Burkhead have to pick 2. Damn it. I think the guy that I feel the most comfortable about is probably Alex Collins, because there's going to be no Travis Homer, no Adrian Peterson, and it's the Texans. So Alex Collins is probably the best matchup of this group. It's close for number 2 for me between Henderson and Deonta Foreman. I do like Deonta Foreman's matchup against Jacksonville. So I think if I'm going to rank these guys, I'm going Collins, Foreman, Henderson, Madison, Burkhead. I kind of view Madison in the same tier as Henderson. So for me, it's looking like Collins and Foreman. I don't know if that feels right, but to me, that's what makes sense. Collins against Houston, Foreman against Jacksonville. I think I'm going to roll with the guys that are going to lead their team in touches in really good matchups. Jacksonville and Houston are some of the worst defenses in the league, worst teams in the league. So I'm comfortable rolling out Collins and Foreman this week, even if it feels a little dirty. But keep the questions coming, guys. This is fun. I just wanted to look for any more player news that came out. If you're thinking about starting Rex Burkhead, I mean, he had the backfield to himself last weekend in a good matchup, and he still couldn't do anything. David Johnson's practicing in full today, so Burkhead's probably off my radar, and I don't even know if I want to roster Rex Burkhead at this point. But I don't know. What are you guys excited to see tonight? I think Chase Claypool's going to have a game. I think the Vikings are going to be very focused on Deontay Johnson and Najee Harris. Not going to be surprised if our guy Chase Claypool has a night. Maybe even a James Washington play. I could see Pat Freiermuth having a game. But the Vikings are one of the best teams against the tight end. So I'm a little bit hesitant to start Pat Freiermuth unless they have a really good option ahead of him. As a stash receiver, do you like MVS, A-Rob, or KJ Osborne? I'm going to say MVS. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is the guy. Before the bye, he had 2 games. He had 10 targets in one game, 9 targets in the other game. He had 4 catches in each. He has that floor where he's going to catch probably 4 or 5 balls a game going forward. So in a PPR setting, his floor is, I think, 8 to 10 points. And then he's got that deep ball ability coming off a bye. Again, Randall Cobb out for the year. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, guys, I think it's time. I do like Allen Robinson, but I'd rather trust Aaron Rodgers with that deep ball than going to Justin Fields with Allen Robinson on a bum hammy. And then KJ Osborne is nice. I don't really know what the ceiling is. I'm a little bit hesitant to get Osborne in there, whereas Rodgers plus MVS, that's the connection I want. And yeah, Jefferson's going to have a night. No Joe Hayden this evening, so I think Justin Jefferson's going to get loose. Not going to be surprised if he goes well over 100 receiving yards tonight. And yeah, Justin going for 30. I'm going to say like $150 and a touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns tonight. It's going to be a Justin Jefferson slob night. Hopkins or Allen, if cleared. If Allen's cleared, I will go with Keenan Allen just because it's a really good matchup against the Giants. But I guess worst case scenario, I'm fine with Hopkins. So I guess the good news is you have a while to wait and see on this. Hopkins plays Monday night. We'll know if Allen's in on Sunday. So for now, I will say if Allen plays, I'll get Allen in there. He's a safe floor guy. Hopkins versus Jalen Ramsey will be fun to watch when it does happen. But I think you got to take the Keenan Allen versus the Giants matchup. But I don't know, man. It's interesting because Keenan Allen with COVID not practicing all week. I mean, if he plays, is he really even 100%? Maybe you just play Hopkins in primetime. Maybe you just. I'm gonna say final answer: DeAndre Hopkins primetime. But yeah, man, keep the questions coming in, guys. This is good. AJ Dillon just got dropped in my league. Yes, pick up AJ Dillon. Pick up AJ Dillon. Please go do that. So AJ Dillon, this is kind of the role that I think I see going forward for the Packers running backs. Both guys are startable. Aaron Jones is going to be the guy getting the more touches. I think Aaron Jones is going to be somewhere in that 15 to 20 touch per game, and you're going to probably see AJ Dillon 10 to 15 touches. It's going to be kind of like a Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard like split. Just the bodies are just reversed. Pollard's kind of a more Aaron Jones lean build, and Zeke's kind of the banger. But in a good game again, so I see Aaron Jones eating against Chicago. I see him, doing some damage early, and then I think the recipe for Green Bay is that AJ Dillon's going to be the closer. He's going to bang out touchdowns in the fourth quarter if he gets them, and he's going to probably be that 4-minute offense kind of back. So I love AJ Dillon. He should be rostered in all leagues. Please help. Vincent, thanks for hanging out, man. Thanks for the question. OBJ, KJ Osborne, Brandon Ayuk, or Russell Gage. Pick 2 PPR. Well, I'm curious what you guys think in the chat room. I've been getting a lot of KJ Osborne questions. So the thing with Brandon Ayuk, if no Deebo Samuel, I want to get Ayuk in that lineup. So I'm comfortable waiting and seeing if he can be the number 1 wide receiver. But with KJ Osborne, you're kind of getting like a full PPR. You're hoping for 4 catches for 50 yards as a floor and the potential for a touchdown. So I feel good about KJ Osborne tonight. But if you're looking for ceilings, Brandon Ayuk, if Ayuk's the number 1 receiver, I think Ayuk's the play. So basically the question is, do we start KJ Osborne tonight? That is kind of the question. Odell Beckham, I feel like he's flimsy. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start KJ Osborne tonight. And I'm going to feel really good if he hits. I'm going to feel bad if he doesn't. But I like KJ Osborne, the number 2 receiver. I would expect 5 to 6, 7 targets tonight against the Steelers. Hopefully he can reel in a touchdown. But I feel like his floor is 8 to 10 points. If you're comfortable with that, getting at least, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. Osborne's probably a guy you want to start. And then we're going to play the waiting game. If Deebo plays, I don't want to play Brandon Ayuk. I'll go with OBJ. If Deebo's out, I'll go with Brandon Ayuk. Hope that helps, my man. Thanks for the question, Vincent, too. I haven't seen you in the comments before, so I hope I was able to answer your question thoroughly enough. But, man, I'm just excited for we're due for a good football Thursday night game where both teams are in this one to the end, and it comes down to the last play. I just hope everyone comes out healthy. No problem, man. Thanks for hanging out. Do you think the single powerhouse RB strategy is coming to an end in this era of the game? Seems like split backfield are. That's a great question, Devin. And I think it is. I mean, you look at some of the guys right now leading the league in rushing, and especially now too with the schedule going to 17 regular season games. I think the future mold is going to be Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, Zeke, and Tony Pollard. We're probably going to see some mashup of Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel, but the guys that are the lead backs, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette, there's only going to be, 5 to 10 of these running backs a year, and it's going to be hard to predict, I think, every year going forward. But, I mean, next year, you're going to like Jonathan Taylor. You're going to have questions, though, on Henry's health. You're going to have questions on McCaffrey's health. I think Najee Harris, though, that's a guy that you can bank on getting all the touches. So I think we're probably looking at a heavy 2-back system going forward, where even, a guy like DeAndre Swift, who would get, 70% of the touches going forward. I think you're going to start to see some of those numbers come down. But like the JTs, the Mixons of the world here, you're going to continue to see outliers like, 3 to 5 stud running backs going forward. But I do think we're going to start to see I think we're going to start to call these guys flex running backs, where you draft a guy like Tony Pollard or AJ Dillon and you just leave them in there at your RB2 flex play and see what happens. But I do think going forward, split backfield. Think about Javonte with Melvin Gordon, or I guess even this Washington backfield with Gibson and JD. I think it's going to be a lot of backs being split up here. As a Giants fan, I heard Russell Wilson is considering a trade. I still don't like it because our line wouldn't be any better than Seattle's, and his contract would be $37 million. Yeah, that is the main issue. I think Russell's teams are now New York, the Saints, and then there was another one. I can't remember what it was. What was the other team? I can't remember what the other team was about. So I like style wise, I do like Russell Wilson in New York. It makes sense with the weapons that they put there. But man, I just they already got Galladay and all these other receivers under contract, so it could work offensively for a little bit. Yeah, the Broncos. So to me, the Broncos make the most sense for Russell Wilson. But I do think the Giants might be a sneaky team here, but that kind of feels to me a little bit desperate. I personally, I've seen enough of Daniel Jones, but we haven't seen enough of Daniel Jones with a healthy Saquon Barkley and a healthy cast of receivers. So I think for next year, I would get some new management at the top, but give Daniel Jones one more try and see if they can get a healthy cast around him. Build that offensive line for Daniel Jones for at least one more season. Maybe draft another backup quarterback or sign a guy. Even for one more year, if you signed a guy like Mitchell Trubisky, or you just kind of signed a journeyman for at least one more year to compete behind Daniel Jones, I would like it to have maybe one more chance. Whereas the Broncos, that's a plug and play. They need a quarterback. The Broncos, let them pay for that shit. I think that's what I would do. Henry, CMC, Kamara, Cook, Zeke. The whole team can fall when they do. Yep. It's putting all your eggs in one basket with a running back that's going to start to fade out. And you already see teams not willing to pay these running backs. It's a dying breed. Today, what is your top 5 draft picks, 222 fantasy? Half PPR. So I think we're going to begin to see a shift of more wide receivers starting to creep up there. Jonathan Taylor, probably the number one, the 101 here. I do think a guy like Najee Harris, depending on who the QB is, I think Najee Harris is guaranteed for volume and probably a top 5 consideration. So I like JT. The way Mixon's playing right now in that offense, he's a lot of fun. I'm just thinking of running backs right now, but JT, Mixon, Najee, Derrick Henry's going to be up there, and maybe CMC. So those are some of the running backs that I look forward to. But the wide receivers, I think getting Justin Jefferson on your team, getting Devontae Adams on your team, or Cooper Kupp, those are some of the names that I'm looking at. But there's a lot of moving pieces, potentially with drafts and who the QB is. But those are just some of the names that I like right now. But for me, Jonathan Taylor, probably the clear-cut number 101. And then after that's where you can kind of get to have a little bit of fun. But I don't know. I think the days are done where first-round running back is the norm. I think there's going to be a lot of fun builds going forward. But for me, Debo's interesting, but I'm nervous about Debo's health, man. It just seems like kind of every year something happens to him. And now this game he's missing a couple games. For me, I wouldn't take Debo in the top 5. He's probably end of the first round, early second round pick for me right now. He's right around top 10. He is right around that, probably the top third or fourth receiver, because I'm probably taking Justin Jefferson. I'm taking Devontae Adams over him, maybe even Tyreek Hill still. Whereas Debo, and then you're also going to have to with Debo, we have to take into account Jimmy Garoppolo is his quarterback right now. Who knows what that's going to look like with Trey Lance? I think that could really ruin, or it could help, supplant his value. But that's going to be a consideration next year. Is what does Trey Lance do for Debo? Jeff Wilson, maybe. Let's go. What do you feel about the Packers situation with Devontae and Riders in the offseason? That's a great question, Devontae. So the contract situation for Devontae Adams is Devontae's representatives are looking at the new contract for DeAndre Hopkins, where he's getting, on paper, Hopkins is getting $27 million this year. But the Packers are recognizing that over a 5-year span, when it brings it down to about 22. So I think they're going to have to meet in the middle. If they can give him $25 million a year, that's probably what will keep Devontae in there. But I think Devontae's only going to want to stay if Rodgers is back. So I think the chances of it happening, it really hinges on what happens at the end of this year. If they do win the Super Bowl, I think there's a good chance that they could, run it back kind of situation. So we'll see. It's a fluid moving situation. I don't think they're talking contract extensions right now. They got to wait and see what happens with Rodgers. But I don't know. I actually, just based on what Rodgers has been saying this year and the conversations he's had with the GM, I think Rodgers probably coming back next year. Yeah, Cooper Kupp, top 5 pick. I don't think he will play this week. Yeah. Waddle's fun, man. Waddle Diggs. Waddle's probably that second, third round pick that's going to be a lot of fun. Freeman or Hubbard, stash one and cut the other. I'm gonna stash Freeman, cut Hubbard. I just don't trust the Panthers offensive line. Gordon or Jeff Wilson. Let's go with Jeff Wilson. And GB's hot right now. GB's going to be fun. But anyways, that's going to do it for tonight's show. I think I'm going to pop in Saturday. So I'm going to the Packer game this Sunday, actually. I'm going to be going to Lambeau, Packers Bears. So I'll be there for Sunday nights. I don't think I'm going to do a live stream on Saturday, but I'll probably pop on live tomorrow night. So if you guys want to come hang out, get your questions answered, or you can always hit me up on the Twitter machine. So I don't know. I guess go KJ Osborne. That was probably the scariest call I had to make tonight. But good luck with you guys. Lineups tonight. Hope you guys get everything you need and maybe that you don't need. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys. Good luck. Peace.